everyone. This is your girl Renee. Welcome to the 5th episode of Water for Your Spirit. So, the water I am going to bring to you today is in the form of wisdom. My poem for today is entitled Wisdom, and we also have a special surprise for you today. Many have heard, but few have come to know the voice that tries to call to us because we are too busy living in our flow. I saw her one day. I smiled and said hi. She called me over, told me to come and sit by her side. We people watched. Then she told me a story about people and about life. She said she tries to help us out. She has many things to say, but people don't want to talk to her. They just pass her by and go on their merry way. She told me she has lived here a very long time. She has seen people come and go. She asked me about you. She knew you were a friend of mine. She told me she was waiting for you. She told me to ask you to stop by, to come see her whenever you find the time. She said she would see us as we passed her by. She tried to wave you over, but you know how young people are, always moving here and there. They never have the time. She sat on her steps one day as she watched you walk down the street. She waved a hand, but you had things to do, people to see. She wasn't one who was on your list to meet. Too busy chasing the ones and things set up to bring you pain. Always running here and there with only misery to show as your gain. I talked to you. You laughed out loud. I said you should go see her. She has something to say. She wants to talk to you. You should go. What do you have to lose? So you told me, I will stop by just to humor you. Only because tomorrow I really don't have too much to do. I don't know what she has to say to me. It's not like we know each other, but I will check her out just to see. The next day I walked over by her way. She said, child, come on over here. Come sit a while. Help me pass the day. I watched you run these streets day after day. No real direction. Still haven't found your purpose. Just playing games while time is wasting away. Let me tell you some things that I know. Yeah, I know you think you know everything, but I have seen some things and been places you have yet to go. I'm trying to save you a trip, a few steps if you please, but you've got to sit a while. Listen if you have ears to hear and eyes to see. She touched my face. I thought her strange. But when she removed her hands, I felt the clarity in me reign. I talked with her a while. Her conversation made me think. It made me smile. She told me things I've never heard before. She told me about me. As I looked in her eyes, I began to see the beauty of her being. I asked her name. She simply replied, I am wisdom. I've been waiting for you to come hear me for a while. So that is the end of my poem, and my special guest for today, her name is Miss Lisa Glenn, aka my sister cuz. And if you know me, you know her. And if you don't know her, then you really don't know me. So anyway, Lisa, welcome to Water for Your Spirit.
Hey everybody, I am Lisa. I am honored to be here sitting with my sister cousin Renee on her fabulous podcast, Water for Your Spirit. So thank you. I'm glad I'm your first guest. Yay.
So, Lisa, what did you think about my poem? What was your interpretation from it?
I thought this was really one of your best poems. I love this poem. I love the flow of the poem. I love the terminology you use. I loved everything, how it was just very fluid. I loved a lot of different things about the poem.
Wait, you thought this was my best? What about the light? I mean, really? Okay, but I'll accept it. So, what was your interpretation, though? What did you get from it?
I didn't say that this was your best. I said this was one of your best. The interpretation, so we're going to get right down to it. Wisdom. Of course, I love the name Wisdom. And the interpretation that I received from the poem is that wisdom knows everything. And a lot of times we don't want to hear what wisdom has to say. Wisdom is always there waiting as long as we have the time. But many times we don't have the time because we're always busy going here and there. I sound like I'm about to say a poem. We're everywhere. I'm going to be a poet too. But wisdom is also there to help us find our way. We just have to make sure that we are listening. And I think that's the hardest part, being able to listen.
Yes, wisdom in this form, it represented a person, but it also represented a lot of people. I think sometimes we think because we have so much knowledge that we don't understand. The knowledge is good, but we need the experience. And you know, you can gain wisdom from many entities and many people. I think sometimes we neglect our older people who have walked many roads, and we're like, well, they're older now, things are different, but you know, there's nothing really new under the sun. It may be presented a different way, but it's nothing really different if you take it apart. So I think a lot of times if we sit down and talk to some of our older people, that we can gain insight because they've already been through different periods of history. But sometimes we forget that. We're like, oh, I don't have time to talk to them. I don't have time to listen. Or I don't want to hear that. But really, our culture, that's how they did it. They passed stories down. That's how we learn things. And sometimes I think the reason why we go in repeat mode is because we didn't take the time to listen to some of the lessons. That's what this poem was about. Wisdom is always calling us. Wisdom is waiting for us to come. And, you know, God said, if you ask for wisdom, He will give it to you. But you got to ask. You can't just think you can rest on your knowledge, because knowledge itself is not enough.
So what I thought was interesting in this poem is how you refer to wisdom as a she. All throughout the poem, she told me. She said she would. She sat on her steps. Why did you have wisdom be a she or female?
Because females rock. No, seriously. Okay, so in the book of Proverbs, wisdom is a woman. So I took that imagery because she is a woman and she's in the street and she's calling for many people. She's trying to get their attention, but everybody's walking by her, ignoring her. She's trying to wait for them to listen, to give them lessons, but of course we don't want to hear because we want to do what we want to do. We want to go where we want to go. We want to think we know everything, and really we don't. You know, because some things have to be revealed to you. Some things have to be taught to you. Some things you have to experience, but it all goes together. It's not anything that's by itself. So that's why I put wisdom in the form of a woman. Also, women are very complex beings. We have so many emotions and feelings. Maybe because we are the life carriers. Mm. Mm-hmm. So that may have been a reason that that came to me in that way. But that is one of the reasons I focus, because in the Bible, that's how wisdom is presented.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with you on women being very complex and filled with different emotions and different experiences. We deal with a lot of things that the male species have no idea of what we deal with. So I definitely agree with that. But like I said, I thought this was amazing. And when you think about the fact that you put wisdom in the form of a she, female, when you think about the wise women that you may have had in your family, I'm sure there are many that we could name in our family. And one that I'm thinking of is our grandmother, aka Mama. We call her Mama. And just all of the different things that we learned from her. Because when you look at the definition of wisdom in a dictionary, the definition is the quality of having experiences, knowledge, and good judgment, the quality of being wise. That's what wisdom is. And when I think of Mama and I think about all of the different things that she would teach us as we were growing up and the different things that we learned from her, she definitely was a very wise person.
Absolutely. She taught us a lot. I mean, the list is endless. There were always some type of sayings. There were also, let's say you were hurt and we might be, let's go to call the doctor or whatever. But then they had that old school treatment as well. I also remember one time, I think it was my high school graduation. It was pouring down rain that whole day. I mean, I was like, I do not want to go because my graduation was going to be held outside. And I was like, I'm just not going to go if they have a rain date. I mean, I was in my feelings over that. She was like, girl, it's going to stop raining. You will graduate today. So just go on somewhere with all that. And lo and behold, later that day, the sun came out bright and shining. And yes, I did graduate. I think sometimes our grandparents had insight to us. Older people have insight that we haven't gained yet, because sometimes you can only gain it by living long enough, going through your experiences that you've been through, going through the roads that we haven't walked yet. So that's why they are an important commodity to us. They're history walking. And sometimes we need to take the time to sit a while. I remember all the older people that passed through my life, not just in our family, but outside on the block that I grew up, Marston Street. There were a lot of older people that I sat with, that I listened to, and gained insight. So yes. So hopefully this podcast will help us learn to go in search of wisdom. Because trust me, wisdom is waiting for us to come in search of her. She has a lot to teach. So thank you all for tuning in to Water for Your Spirit. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I did. It was fun actually having a conversation with someone. But until next time, go out and find your water.
And be wise.
Yes, be wise above all things.